Yes, friends, we're still on the boat. We're still living that life of relaxation. But this time we're coming closer to port. So here I am at the Windjammer, and I went super early, so I had the spot all to myself, and I managed to get a primo seat. So the Windjammer is really pretty because of this seating area and the panoramic view that you have and the floor to ceiling windows. And because it was so early, we got to walk around the ship and show parts that we hadn't had a chance to go to before. So a lot of it was on the upper deck where they have like the children's center, and then they have the ping pong tables, and they have the mini putt-putt and the rock climbing and the flow rider. So it was a beautiful morning to do that. I don't know what the heck happened, but we were up super early and we beat all our ship goers to the spots before they were even up. But it was pretty windy out and it was kind of cold. So I was rushing through this because this was a sacrifice I was making for you to show you the rest of the ship. Also on Explorer of the Seas, Johnny Rockets is kind of out of the way. Johnny Rockets is on this deck, and it's like own separate restaurant, and you have a beautiful view. And what I heard from the other shipgoers is that their apple pie is absolutely delicious. But for me, I was just like running around. I was like, yes, I think this is pretty. And yes, I was enjoying the view, but I was a bit concerned, like, did I bring enough warm clothes? Because I didn't expect this part of the transatlantic to be so cold. As I mentioned before, this is the fun and games area. So here we are at the mini golf course, the putt-putt golf course. And then we're going to pass the flow rider, and you're going to see the rock climbing, and you're going to see their miniature slide. So everything looks really small in comparison to how big they are in other ships. So here is the slide, which is kind of hysterical because on the other ships it goes from like the third to the first floor. The flow rider is huge, and the rock climbing is huge, and I don't even think you can see where the rock climbing is here. And on Symphony, what I really enjoyed was that they had that parachute simulation thing that they don't have here. But this is just a race through. This is just to show you what the outdoorsy or athletic people are enjoying. There's a basketball court for the kids, and there's ping pong tables.
Hey friends, welcome back to my channel, MBC Lifestyles Diary. My name is Marie, I live in New York, and I love fashion, travel, and cultural events. And I'm asking your ass to join me on the adventure.
Now we're heading to Studio B, the ice skating rink. Yes, I love the ice skating shows. I am a child when it comes to these. Maybe it's because I didn't get to go to the ice capades, but this is my opportunity. The storyline for this show is the Four Seasons, and I'm like, how are they going to do it? And as usual, it was beautiful. I love the costuming. I love the idea behind it, and the technical skill of these skaters is tremendous. They're ice skating on a moving ship, and they're doing the leaps and the spins. And you know what? It's still dangerous. They're still susceptible to injury from the difficulty of this. I think that's kind of underestimated. But look at that. This is glorious. I had a blast. As you're watching this, I hope you're enjoying it as much as I did. And I did love the costumes, and I did love the routines, and even the stage design changed. So I'd like to remind you, if you're enjoying this cruise with me, please remember to give me a thumbs up, and remember to like, subscribe, and share. Keep watching, there's more. Oh my goodness, another whale sighting. This is just too exciting to bear. And I found out that whales travel in pods. So we're probably looking at a family here. This is amazing, and I'm glad I'm seeing this from the deck of a cruise ship. Now here I am all gussied up because guess what? We have another reservation. This time we're doing Taste of Royale. And Taste of Royale is where they give you all the favorite treats from all the specialty restaurants. So it starts off with the Aperol Spritzer and that delicious bread. And now we're going to the scallop carpaccio and the risotto and the filet mignon. And of course the dessert, darling. Scrumptious. I'm walking around, I'm trying to deal with that guilt that I'm feeling for eating so well on this cruise, and then the panic that you kind of go and you're like, oh my God, how much weight have I actually gained? So I had to talk myself down from that cliff and say, it's vacation. Live your life. Stop thinking like this. Just enjoy. It's great that we're having these wonderful dining experiences, and looking at the ocean calmed me down and brought me to my happy place. So after a leisurely day, it was the second formal night. And I've said before that on the other ships, they kind of downplay formal night, but not on Explorer of the Seas. So I felt I was dressed too simply for this occasion, but I did enjoy looking at other people. Also, I had mistaken another night for lobster night, but this is traditional second formal night, you get lobster. And as I've said, a lot of the other ships aren't doing it. The lobster was delicious. We had a great meal. And I'm like, okay, now I see why people will go on this ship, even if it's not as new and as the bigger ones like Symphony and Icon. And tonight was also the night that we passed through the Strait of Gibraltar, and we were passing early enough so that we could go on deck and view this and see when the Atlantic becomes the Mediterranean Sea, when we pass the Rock of Gibraltar and this beautiful sunset. So it truly felt magical here. I really felt blessed to be living this experience, and I was really grateful that the sea was tranquil on this crossing, and I really appreciated the ship. We also happened to enjoy our formal night with Susan and Dave, so we were walking the Broad Rock with them after dinner and witnessing the crossing the Straits of Gibraltar. It was so beautiful and so romantic. And then after that, we went to the Star Lounge and got some dancing in to the 80s music. And now we're in the Mediterranean. It's gorgeous. And we're going to our second port of call, which is in Cartagena, Spain. So I did something new. Even though I have crossed the transatlantic before, I never saw that transition and passed the Rock of Gibraltar. So that was exciting. And now we're getting ready to go to Cartagena, and I've kept up the tradition of doing absolutely no research. So I knew nothing about Cartagena except that the Spaniards did go colonize Colombia and named another city Cartagena. Hope that's helpful. For Cartagena, it was a bright, sunny day, and basically you could just walk out of the port onto the major city. And that's been kind of nice about these ports of call that we're doing, because it was the same thing in Azores. I didn't need to get on a bus or anything else. I just walked off the ship and I was in the middle of the city. And the same thing happened here, except this time the weather was glorious. And as you're coming off the ship, they're playing music. So I'm well rested. I'm getting off the ship in my own tempo. And I know it's not going to be a hassle. The town will just be there at my feet. What was there not to dance about? As we were leaving the port, there were vendors with handmade goods, and the prices were pretty reasonable. So right off the ship, you're getting in a little shopping. The city was beautiful. As I said, in Azores, in Ponta Delgada, you see nature. It's an eco tour, but when you get to Cartagena, it's the more traditional. It's a city. There's restaurants. It's vibrant. There are shops, and it seems to be a tourist town. I did find out that there were beach resorts on the other side. So it seems to be a big vacation spot for the Spaniards and other Europeans. So the city was beautifully laid out, and I was very impressed that their streets was lined or paved with marble, which made it feel very opulent, made me realize how much wealth they were really taking from the New World. And with the wealth that they were getting from Colombia and other places in South America, they were investing it in the cities of Spain and creating this beauty for my cruising pleasure. It was such a pleasure to walk this town, so many restaurants, so many shops to see, that I was not looking for a carriage or a trolley ride. And I was enjoying the sparkling of the marble streets. I was wondering, how do people manage when it rains? But not my problem. That's not what I was there for today. I was just there for a day tour to look, observe, and enjoy. Did I get a feeling for what life was like in Cartagena? No, but I just got a feeling for what it's like to be on vacation in Cartagena. So after Cartagena, we're off to Palma de Mallorca. So I'm mellowing out. It's transitioning time, baby. So, we went to the dining room, we had dinner, and now we had to start thinking about packing. So no one was going to any shows or going to any clubs to dance. We're transitioning to the next part of the journey. And of course, I'm like, why do I do this? I don't understand. I could have just gone back to back cruising or just picked one spot to stay. But that's not what we do. And I've grown to appreciate that, but I still bitch and complain while I'm transitioning. I hope you noticed the beautiful moonlight hitting our calm ocean as we maneuvered into the port of Palma de Mallorca. And we had visited this port on our last cruise with Manny, Isley, Farah, and Donald. And in Mallorca, you do need to take transportation into town. And since we had already been to Mallorca, we were wondering, should we go back and see it, or should we stay on the cruise ship and get a spa treatment? But obviously, we decided to get off the ship and go see the port, damn it. So we found out that the cruise ship was providing a $15 bus ride to the city, and it was a round trip, but we wanted to be on our time, so we found that the taxi service was just fine. It was a little more expensive, but it was well worth it for the comfort of managing your own time and not having to wait for a bus. So off we went in the taxi and got a different view of the city. And that's the amazing thing about traveling. You go to the same cities sometimes, but you get a different perspective. You're coming at it from a different angle. So this travel to Mallorca felt very different than when we went with Manny and Isley. So we're here, it's hot, the sun is beaming, and I'm grateful I have my big hat to give me some shade. And as we walk, I'm like, I forgot how pretty Mallorca was. And we were very happy that we got off the ship and came to visit. There was a lot to see and do. There was the dancing panda. There was a man in the plaza blowing huge bubbles. You were listening to the different languages that were being spoken. And yes, the Spaniards like to visit their resort towns also. So we did that. It was very pretty. You looked at different architecture. A piece of information that I had preserved in my memory from the last tour was that the royal family does vacation in Mallorca, and they do have a royal palace here. I wish I had called them sooner. Maybe we could have gone and had tea with them. So our little foray into town was exactly what we needed. And yes, we've become those type of people that rush back to the cruise so we could go to the Windjammer and have lunch. Yeah, some people would call that being a cheap ass, but I won't use that term. On this cruise, I feel like a seasoned cruiser. I make wise decisions about how I will spend my time relaxing. And then, as usual, we go to dinner. The staff dances. This time it was for our waiters. Our waiter was Gusti. He was a great guy, and he joined the cast in singing and dancing and making sure that we were thoroughly entertained. And as I said before, it was a little sad because now we were disembarking and on to the next adventure. But please, if you enjoyed this, remember, give me a thumbs up. Remember to like, subscribe, and follow. And leave us a comment letting us know if you enjoyed this trip.